Hey guys, it's Rick. Welcome back to the HDVIBE channel. If you'd like to see more rides, reviews, tips, tricks, product installs on my Harley-Davidson touring motorcycles, and information about motorcycling at large, I ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you do get notified every time I do put out new content. And when you do subscribe, I ask that you please put a comment in the comment section saying I subscribed or something to that effect so that I can personally reach out to you and thank you for being a part of the channel. So today it's exciting. I am in the St. Louis area. It's December. It's going to be 70 degrees today, and I am actually commuting on my motorcycle to work today. And with that, I just recently read an article, and I want to share some thoughts to you about really practically what do we experience as motorcycle riders. And we'll get into that right after this. So if you're like me, people ask us all the time, what's it like to ride a motorcycle? Isn't it dangerous? And I'm going to put a meme up right here so that you can see. I think this sums it up pretty well. But also, what I want to talk about today is really some practical things that we as motorcycle riders experience. And maybe it's really from, as we first get into riding motorcycles, that we experience these things more consciously. And then I think as we go along, we experience these things subconsciously. But I think for all those new riders out there, and for us that have been riding for a while, we can sit back and think about these things. I think it's quite interesting. This came spurred from an article that I recently read. So things that we kind of practically experience when we're out riding the bike. So first of all, I think it's vulnerability. We are wide open, right? Look at all these cars that are around me as I'm commuting into the central business district here in St. Louis. We don't have a cocoon, a bubble around us. We can smell things. We experience things. We feel the heat from the cars. We feel the cold, and all those things. So we are wide open and vulnerable. And what does that do? It's obviously makes it more dangerous for us, but I think at the end of the day, if we're properly managing our situation, this vulnerability is not really a danger, but I think an advantage for us that ride motorcycles. So what else? We feel the wind. If you're in a car, you don't feel the wind like you do in a motorcycle. You can feel the cool breezes, the warm breezes in the summer. When cars pass by, you feel the rush of wind. When an 18-wheeler passes you by, you do feel that burst of wind as they're coming by. And as you're feeling that, it's again another experience that you don't have when you're riding in a car. You feel the road. As a motorcycle rider, we feel the road, we feel the bumps, we feel the tar snakes, we feel potholes. We feel as though we are really connected to the road through that motorcycle, more so than you would when you're driving in a car. We feel the rush of wind. We feel all of these sensations that you don't really get when you're riding in a car. In addition to that, not only feeling the wind, but we experience the smells, if you will, of our travel, our journey, our commute, our ride. And what do I mean by that? I was out just a few weeks ago, and we were running across skunks like crazy. Now, while you might smell a skunk while you're in the car, it's certainly a little more unpleasant when you're on a motorcycle. But there's also the fresh smells you smell if you're fresh cut grass that you'll smell when you're out on the ride that you wouldn't experience when you're in a car. going through and smelling leaves burning, wood burning in the fall and in the winter that you wouldn't necessarily smell when you're in a car. So it's that sensory overload that we experience as we go along on our rides, that I contend that if you're just in a car, you would not really experience it. You know, and I think I recently saw a quote talking about motorcycling, and this pretty much sums it up. It says this: it's not a phase in my life, it's not a hobby, it's my passion. It's not for everyone, but it's for me, and I really truly believe that. For me, riding motorcycles is a passion. You know, I think I may have mentioned on some of my other videos, none of my family rides motorcycles, and they often wonder why do you do this? And again, these are some of the reasons. You know, the temperature. So we experience the changes in temperatures as we're riding along from, you know, if you're like me, you'll go on some rides in the spring, summer, fall, winter, and you'll go through, you know, areas where the sun's out, you feel the warmth of the sun on your gear, on your skin, and then you'll go into a cool spot, and then you'll go back into a warm area. These again are things that you do not experience when you're in a car. And you know, it's the cold, it's the heat coming off the bike, it's all of these things, again, creating this sort of sensory overload that really makes the ride experience so much more than riding in a car. And then you get into speed and acceleration. So, you know, we are connected to that bike through the throttle, the clutch, the brakes, and we are constantly moving, and you can feel that acceleration. I mean, obviously it depends on your bike. If you're on a scooter, you may not feel it as much, but it's that initial surge of power that you feel when you take off from a stoplight. You feel the rumble of that motor. You feel that acceleration. And I will say, again, if you're a new rider, I think back to when I first started riding, and the feel of speed when you're in a wide open motorcycle with nothing around you, going 55 miles an hour feels like you're going 100. And that's just, again, one of those things is, if you're a new rider watching this, that's normal. I experienced it when I got back into riding as an adult, and it was a very strange experience, but it certainly felt like things were rushing by much faster. But you, over time, experience miles, hours in the seat, you get used to that. And again, it's an exhilarating experience that, again, is one that you do not experience when you're in a car. So another experience that you don't get when you're in a car that you do in a motorcycle is lean angle. So think about it. A car doesn't really lean. You steer it, right? You turn it right, left. You may get a little G-force if you're going through a curve fast, but nothing like a motorcycle. You are, again, connected to that motorcycle. You are controlling the lean angle. And if you're going through some twists and turns and some twisties, like I've gone and I've ridden the back of the Dragon, again, it is an experience like no other that you cannot replicate when you're in a car. And this is, again, going through those turns in the back of the Dragon was like nothing else. I mean, I had my Street Glide Special so far leaned on some of these turns. Again, it's a very technical ride. I wouldn't suggest it for beginners, but I was actually scraping my Vance & Hines Power Duals as I was going through curves. I mean, they were hairpin curves, switchbacks, all kinds of angles. And again, these are things that you will never experience in a car, that for me, again, makes motorcycle riding just that much more enjoyable and an experience. Your body is truly engaged in the experience. It's not you're sort of navigating like you do a car, you're just steering. I mean, think about it. Both hands, both feet, eyes, head, body is all controlling that motorcycle. So you are fully engaged in that ride and handling that motorcycle, whether it be going down the street, going through twisties, whatever the case may be. But you are completely, your entire body is engaged, your core is engaged, your arms, your legs, your feet, your hands, your eyes, your sense of balance. All these things are critical when you're riding this, and you experience that in a way that you would never again experience when you're riding in a car. You do have a sense of mortality, obviously. I think, people always say, well, motorcycles are really dangerous. Well, there's a lot of dangers in the world. You can get hit walking across the street. You can get into a car accident. You can, there's lots of things. You can fall and hurt yourself. But obviously, inherently, riding a motorcycle is more dangerous. But I think if you take the right approach, you have the right mindset, you do the right training, you manage that risk so that you can have safe, enjoyable many years of riding without the concern of injuring yourself. Again, it's training, it's riding smart, it's gear, that's all those things. And I think finally, as we progress in our motorcycle riding experiences, we do become better drivers in general, whether that be when you're riding your motorcycle or driving your car, because we as motorcyclists, we understand that we are much more vulnerable. And I think, at least in my mind, and at least my experiences, I have become more diligent about how I come through intersections, how I'm making turns, my position in a lane while I'm riding the motorcycle, so that I'm not exposing myself. And that translates into when I drive the car. So I think overall, the basic skills you learn when you're driving a car certainly apply to riding a motorcycle. I think it just stepped up tremendously so that we can operate these motorcycles, ride motorcycles, do all the things we do on motorcycles in a safe manner. And that just brings us to being better drivers overall. So I'll talk about another quote that I recently saw too. Was Valentino Rossi, who is a MotoGP rider that just recently retired, actually. But I think he said it best, and maybe is a good way to sum up and finish up this video, is riding a bike or a motorcycle is like an art. It's something you do because you feel something inside. And I think I completely agree with that. It is an art. We do it because it's something that makes us feel good. Some of that is dopamine, some of that's adrenaline rush that we get, and obviously there are some very good mental health benefits of riding a motorcycle. I know, such as today, I'm riding my motorcycle to work. I'm going to feel much better about my day, starting off with the motorcycle ride and ending my day with the motorcycle ride back home after the workday is done, than I would if I'm just driving in my car. So that's my thoughts for the day. I hope you enjoy this. I certainly would appreciate any comments that you guys have, in addition to these points that you may want to add to this and add to the conversation. So please leave those in the comments. And we'll wrap it up here. I'll leave you with this thought. Life is short. Get out and ride the bike. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.